Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Glad to be here.
Today we're diving into a concept
Yeah,
that I think is really going to resonate with you guys.
I think so.
It's this idea of the inner pharaoh. And we're going to be looking at a couple of sources that you sent us.
That's good.
One is this really interesting YouTube video from a Jewish mysticism channel.
Right.
And the other is a clip from an audio lecture.
Okay.
And they're both dealing with this idea
Yeah.
of the inner pharaoh and how it kind of relates to a passage from the Torah.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm really excited to
Got
kind of
it.
unpack this and see what kind of practical wisdom we can glean
Me too.
from these sources.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating how something so ancient
Right.
can still be so relevant to our lives today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in.
Sure.
What exactly is this inner pharaoh we're talking about?
Well, think of it as this kind of like metaphor
Okay.
for all the internal challenges that we face. You know, those limiting beliefs,
Right.
the doubts,
Yeah.
the things that hold us back?
Yeah, those pesky things.
Exactly, those pesky things.
Like when you're trying to,
Yeah.
I don't know, learn a new skill or
Yeah.
start a new project and you just feel this resistance.
Exactly, and you just feel like,
Yeah.
do I really have what it takes?
Yeah.
Do I have the resources?
Am I good enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that.
It's like that inner critic
Totally.
that just loves to pipe up at the worst possible times.
Yeah, the inner critic.
So we all have these inner pharaohs.
I think we all do to some extent.
Yeah.
It's part of the human experience. The YouTube video gives this great example.
Okay.
You know that feeling you get when you're not sure you have the resources to achieve a goal?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like that anxiety.
Especially for me. It's like
Yeah.
when I'm trying to learn something new and
Yeah.
it feels really overwhelming. I'm like, do I have the time for this? Yeah. Do I have the energy?
Do I have the mental bandwidth?
Right. And is it even worth it?
Yeah. All those questions start swirling around.
Totally.
And it can be really paralyzing.
Absolutely. And the video connects this feeling back to the story of Moses.
Oh, interesting.
Remember in Exodus when Moses is initially terrified of confronting Pharaoh?
Yeah.
It's like that hesitation, that fear.
Right.
It's something we all experience when we're facing our own inner obstacles.
Yeah. I like that connection.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It's like our own personal exodus in a way.
Exactly.
And speaking of exodus,
Mm-hmm.
there's this really interesting phrase
Okay.
that the video uses.
Yeah.
It says, "Come with me to Pharaoh."
That's interesting.
Right. It's not go to Pharaoh.
Uh-huh.
It's come with me.
Yeah, it's like we don't have to face these challenges alone.
Exactly. It's like there's this recognition that we need support.
Yeah, we need help.
We need guidance.
We need to tap into something greater than ourselves.
Yeah. I love that because it takes the pressure off
It does.
of feeling like we have to do everything ourselves.
Totally. And it's not about relying solely on our own strength.
Right.
It's recognizing that there's this greater source of power that we can tap into.
Okay. But what does that actually look like in practical terms?
Well, it could be a lot of things.
Uh,
It could be seeking guidance from a mentor.
Yeah.
Could be connecting with your community.
Finding like-minded people.
Yeah, like-minded people who
Ah.
can support you.
Yeah.
It could even be something as simple as trusting your intuition.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the key is to recognize that we don't have to muscle through everything on our own.
Right. We don't have to white knuckle it.
You don't have to white knuckle it.
Yeah. I love that. And this video gives this really practical advice.
Okay.
If you're struggling with motivation,
Yeah.
ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is this something I truly want to do?
Yeah.
Or does it align with a greater purpose?
That's a really important distinction.
Right? Because sometimes I think we get caught up in what we think we should be doing.
Right.
Or what other people expect of us.
Or what's going to bring us external validation.
Exactly. And we lose sight of what actually lights us up.
It's so true.
So it's like shifting the focus from
Yeah.
what can I get?
To what can I give?
Yeah, I love
And that can lead to much more meaningful and impactful results.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about this inner pharaoh
Yeah.
as this kind of block or this obstacle.
Uh-huh.
But then the video throws this curveball at us.
Okay.
And it says that Pharaoh can also be seen as a symbol of wild, limitless revelation.
Now that's interesting.
Right. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Where are they going with this?
What's going on here?
Yeah. It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
And they delve into Kabbalah,
Oh, wow.
which is a mystical tradition within Judaism,
Okay.
to explain that Pharaoh actually represents immense divine potential.
Okay, so it's not all bad.
No, it's not all bad.
Right.
But the catch is that this potential
Okay.
manifests in a corrupted or tyrannical way. Oh, I see.
It's like untamed energy
Uh-huh.
that could be incredibly powerful
Right.
if it were channeled in a positive direction.
So it's like this raw power
Raw untamed power.
that needs to be harnessed and
It is.
directed.
Right.
Otherwise, it just runs amok.
It can become destructive
Yeah.
if it's not channeled properly.
So are you saying that our greatest weaknesses
Hmm.
might actually be distorted versions of our strengths?
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Right. Like the things that hold us back
Uh-huh.
might actually be untapped potential.
Yeah, just waiting to be harnessed.
That's kind of a mind-blowing thought.
It is. It's a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of seeing our weaknesses as something to be ashamed of,
Right.
we can start to see them as opportunities
I like that.
for growth and transformation.
Yeah. And it makes me think about Moses.
Oh, okay.
You know how he had a speech impediment? The video really highlights that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he seemed totally unsuitable.
For this monumental task
Like, how could he possibly lead the Israelites out of Egypt
with a speech impediment.
with a speech impediment?
Right.
Yeah, it's a great parallel
Totally.
to how we often feel inadequate
Yeah.
or doubtful when we're facing big challenges.
We're like, who am I?
Who am I to do?
I'm not qualified.
I'm not good enough.
I don't have the experience.
Yeah, all those thoughts.
And yet,
But here's the thing.
here's the thing.
The message is so encouraging.
Okay, I like encouraging.
Yeah, me too.
Tell me more.
It's not about our perceived limitations.
Okay.
It's about trusting that we'll be given the resources we need to fulfill our purpose.
So it's about having faith.
It's about having faith in
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yeah.
in the process,
Yeah.
and in something greater than ourselves.
That's really reassuring,
It is.
especially when I think about all the times I've felt overwhelmed by a new project
Mhm.
or just like the sheer amount of information out there.
Information overload.
It's like, how am I ever going to,
How am I going to keep up?
make sense of all of this?
Right, and not get completely lost.
Yeah, not drown in the sea of information.
It's a real fear.
It is. And this idea that it's
Yeah.
not about me.
Right?
It's about something bigger.
It's about aligning with something larger.
Yeah, and the resources will be provided
The resources will show up
as needed.
as needed.
That's really comforting.
It is. It takes the pressure off.
It does. It's like a permission slip to relax
It is a permission slip to relax.
and to trust.
And to trust the process.
Yes, trust the process.
That's a good one.
Right.
Trust the process.
All right, so we've talked about this inner pharaoh
We have.
as this kind of obstacle, this block, this thing
Yeah.
that we need to overcome.
Yeah.
But we've also talked about it
No.
as this potential, this raw power
This untamed energy.
that needs to be channeled and directed.
Exactly. And that's where the real work begins.
Right. So how do we actually do that?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. And it's something we'll explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, perfect.
So stay tuned.
All right, so make sure you join us for part 2,
We'll dive even deeper.
where we'll uncover more insights
More insights.
and practical strategy
Practical strategy.
for conquering our inner pharaohs.
And unleashing our full potential.
Can't wait to see you there.
See you then. Yeah, it's about finding that balance.
Yeah, and the YouTube video actually talks about
Okay.
this really powerful mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
It says, instead of asking yourself, can I do this?
Right.
Try asking yourself, I cannot not do this.
Whoa, that's a complete 180.
Right. It's like flipping the script.
It is. It's a total paradigm shift.
Yeah, it's like going from this place of doubt and uncertainty
Yeah.
to this place of absolute conviction.
Like it's not even a question anymore.
Right. It's like, this is my mission.
This is my purpose.
This is my calling,
It's undeniable.
and I cannot not do it.
Yeah. I love that. And it makes me think about that discussion in the audio lecture
Yeah.
on death and resurrection.
Ooh, yeah, that was a fascinating one.
It was. And what's really interesting
Yeah.
is that the Rebbe,
And for those who don't know.
right, a Rebbe is a spiritual leader in the Jewish tradition,
What?
suggests that our generation
Huh.
might not experience death
Okay.
as a consequence of sin,
Interesting.
like previous generations.
Okay.
Instead, he suggests it could be a direct transition to resurrection.
Wow. That's a very different perspective.
It's not about punishment.
Yeah.
It's about transformation.
Death is not the end.
It's not the end.
It's just a transition
A transition to something greater.
to a higher state of being.
Exactly. And that ties back beautifully to personal growth.
Okay. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, even setbacks,
Mm.
what we might perceive as failures.
Right. Those moments where we feel like we've completely fallen apart.
Exactly, can actually be seen as stepping stones to a higher state of being.
So it's like those deaths of
Hmm.
old ways of being
Yeah.
are actually necessary
They're part of the process.
for us to evolve and grow.
It's like shedding old skin
Yeah, I love that analogy.
so we can make room for the new.
It's like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Exactly. And it reframes our entire relationship with
Yeah.
challenges and obstacles.
Because we tend to see them as
Yeah.
these negative things, these roadblocks.
These things to be avoided.
Right, but what if
But what if?
they're actually opportunities?
Opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
Opportunities for evolution.
Like those growing pains
They're the growing pains.
that are necessary
Necessary.
for us to reach our full potential.
And maybe even to experience that resurrection.
Right, and that makes me think back to this inner pharaoh concept.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those internal struggles, those limitations, aren't meant to defeat us, but to refine us.
To help us tap into that limitless potential.
That we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's like the Rebbe O said,
Okay.
death shouldn't be seen as a tragedy,
Yeah,
but as a graduation
I love that.
for those who have fulfilled their purpose.
A graduation.
A graduated.
It's like reaching the summit of a mountain
Yeah.
after a long, challenging climb.
Yes.
And then realizing there's a whole new vista
a whole new horizon.
waiting to be explored.
And that new horizon could be this state of resurrection,
Wow.
a state of being,
Yeah.
where the limitations of our current reality no longer apply.
It's like breaking free
Breaking free
from the chains
from the chains of our own perception,
of our own limited thinking.
of our own limited thinking.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. It really makes you question everything you thought you knew
About life,
about life,
about death,
about death,
and the journey in
the
between.
journey in between.
Yeah, it's like a whole new way
A whole new way.
of looking at reality. And it's really exciting.
It is. It's full of possibilities.
Yeah, and it's a little bit scary
It can be.
because it's like,
It's the unknown,
yeah, it's the unknown.
but it's also an invitation
Okay.
to step into
Yeah,
a greater version of ourselves,
I like that.
a more expansive version,
To embrace the unknown.
to embrace the
To
unknown,
trust the process.
to trust the process.
Yeah, and to remember
You're not alone.
that we're not alone on this journey.
They have each other.
We have our guide.
You have our communities,
We have our mentors.
our mentors,
We have our guides.
of our guides,
And we have something greater than ourselves.
something greater than ourselves.
That's always there to support us.
Always there to support us.
If we just open ourselves up to it.
If we just open ourselves up to it.
Yeah, it really is a whole new way of looking at things.
Mhm.
And as we're kind of wrapping up this deep dive,
Mm.
I want to bring it back to this idea of confronting our inner pharaohs.
Right? Those internal blocks, those limitations.
Yeah, and remember that phrase that we talked about, come with me to Pharaoh?
Yeah, it's such a powerful reminder that we don't have to face these challenges alone.
So how can we actually apply that in a practical way?
I think it starts with recognizing that there's something bigger than ourselves, a greater force at play.
So it's not all about willpower and grit.
It's not just about white-knuckling it.
It's about surrendering to something greater.
Yeah, trusting that we're being guided and supported even when we can't see the whole picture.
Even when it feels like we're walking through the wilderness.
Exactly like the Israelites on their journey out of Egypt.
And that's where aligning with a true purpose comes in.
Yeah, when we're clear about our why.
It gives us the strength to face those inner pharaohs head on.
Because the fear and doubt just don't hold as much power anymore.
It's like they melt away.
They melt away because you're no longer operating from that place of, can I do this?
It becomes an undeniable, I cannot not do this.
Exactly. It becomes an imperative.
And I think that's really inspiring because it means that we all have this incredible potential within us
We do.
to overcome any obstacle,
Any obstacle.
to achieve anything we set our minds to.
As long as we're aligned with our true purpose.
Yeah. And as long as we're willing to tap into that greater source of strength and support.
And that source could be different for everyone.
It could be a mentor, a community, your intuition,
A higher power.
whatever resonates with you.
The important thing is to trust that it's there.
And to remember that you're not alone on this journey.
You never are.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What's one thing you feel called to do, even if it seems impossible?
What's that one thing that you cannot not do?
Take a moment to really reflect on that.
And then ask yourself, where might I need to tap into that higher source of strength and support to make it happen?
Maybe it's reaching out to a mentor.
Maybe it's joining a community.
Maybe it's simply quieting your mind and listening to your intuition.
Whatever it is, trust that the support you need is available.
And remember, you have the power within you to conquer any inner pharaoh and achieve anything you set your mind to.
So go out there and make it happen.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.